All right, and welcome into BP NFL. Christmas has come and gone, but we're still stuffing your stocking with our best bets for Week 17 of the NFL season. I'm your host, Seth Woolcock, filling in for Joey P., who was unavailable today after having too much gabagool at the Pizza Pia family dinner last night. But still, no, I'm not alone. I'm joined by a man who had a great holiday, I'm assuming, after some unders hit in both the Chiefs-Steelers and Ravens-Texans game. He is Andrew Erickson, a.k.a. The Undertaker. Happy Week 17, brother. How was the holiday?
Oh, holiday was absolutely excellent. A ton of food. Overs on the food intake into my body. Probably way too much food. But the unders, cash, Joe Mixon came nowhere near his 63.5 rushing yards. The lock of the Christmas Day slate. I mean, the Texans couldn't basically score on offense at all. You know, getting a safety as they're like, wait, what's the score? 31-2? It's just a very bizarre game. But the food was good. The drinks were good. The family was good. So, but I'm happy to be here today talking about the weeks because we have so many games still coming up. You know, Mayor had asked me in our Slack that, hey, do you have a pick for tomorrow? I'm like, wait, is there football on Friday too? But I wouldn't be surprised at this point. You know, the NFL plays on every single day of the week. Anytime you look up, there may be an NFL game on, but we're here to make sure you have action on all the games you can with Saturday and Sunday. So let's break it down, Seth.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. And it is kind of tough to keep the calendar straight right now. You got the holidays. You got about 20 bowl games happening over the next 5 or 6 days as well. So a lot happening in the football world. On today's program, we're going to make sure you're invested in Week 17 of the NFL season. We'll give you our top 10 ATS and total picks. Then I'll give you my parlay of the week as well. And also, before we get going, I just want to thank everyone who's making time for us during your busy holiday week, watching here on YouTube. And if you are here on YouTube and you enjoy this type of content, please like this video and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Also, please rate and review us wherever you get your audio podcast. We greatly appreciate the support, not just now during the holiday season, but all year long here at BP. And also, please download the BettingPros app. It's on iOS or Android. You can use the Sportsbook sync to automatically track your bets across all major sportsbooks in one spot. So when college football, NFL, cricket, soccer, everything's happening this week, you can track it all in one place on the BettingPros sports betting app. You can also create some custom betting systems over there. You can find some winning trends. It will also help you find some profitable opportunities. You can also get a free trial on the BettingPros premium app by downloading the app and activating your trial on the upgrade screen today. So make sure you're checking out the app, guys. BP app available everywhere. But Erickson, let's get right into the picks. Starting with Saturday, you were interested in the Broncos-Bengals game. Bengals currently favored by 3 points. This was a really tough one for me. The Broncos have been playing great, but the Bengals fighting for their life every single week now.
Yeah, they are. And their playoff chances are basically non-existent at this point. I mean, every probability model will say that they have a chance, but considering the Chiefs locked up the number 1 seed, and the Broncos need to lose their next 2 games for the Bengals to get into the playoffs, the Chiefs are going to do whatever in their power to rest every single starter to make sure they lose the game against the Broncos, to make sure the Bengals have no shot of making the postseason. But that's for Week 18. Week 17, the Bengals are going to try to win this game against Denver. And I like them in this spot. I mean, the Bengals have been one of the most disappointing teams this season overall, but they've been better as of late. And one of the interesting trends I kind of found with them, where I've kind of been backing them the last couple of weeks, is, you know, they've been much better against some of these less formidable opponents. So they've been favored 12 times this year, including 9 times by more than a field goal. And that's really kind of the only time they've been good against the spread. 7-2 against the spread when it's been a field goal or more. So where you're having this line here, you're seeing it at plus, or you're seeing it at 3.5, 3 at most books. So I like taking the Bengals with a 3. They're playing at home. This is a game that they have to win to stay in playoff contention. They don't care about the other teams that are trying to win this game. I think the offense is still going to have success here. Denver's defense has not been good as of late, giving up a lot of points over the last couple of weeks. So I do like the Bengals here in this spot. And Denver hasn't been as good when they've been an underdog this season. Like, they've been very good when the books are saying, hey, Bo Nix is a favorite. We like them here in this spot. And they've been very profitable backing Bo Nix in those situations. But as underdogs, they're just 4-4 against the spread and 2-6 straight up. So when they've kind of been projected to lose games against some of these more powerhouse teams, they have fallen short of delivering against the number. And it's like, Joe Burrow, 3 points at home against Bo Nix. Like, sometimes you just got to zoom out and be like, hey, I feel comfortable laying Joe Burrow with the points. against a rookie quarterback on the road, right? Sometimes it can be just that simple, like, especially if we know the Bengals are going to score points, right? And if Bo Nix has to drop back to throw 40 times, I'll take my chances. So I like the Bengals here at home -3.
I hope this one does come true because I have an AFC West exact order 5-1 I put on preseason, and I need the Broncos continue to lose some games. The Chargers and them were real close. I was happy about the Thursday Night Football victory for Los Angeles last year, so hoping that this one comes true. Might be tailing you on that as well. I do like the analysis there from Erickson. I'm going to stick with this like 50-foot zoom level that you threw out there, and I'm going to take a page out of your book, actually, and I'm going to go with an alt total, paying a little bit of juice here for the Las Vegas Raiders versus the Saints. Alternate under 39.5 points. This is -138 at DraftKings. And I never mind buying back a couple points. I felt like 38.5, where this line was set originally, was just a little too short for me. But if Derek Carr doesn't play, this is a game between Aiden O'Connell and Spencer Rattler. Like, it's as simple as that for me. The Saints have scored under this total in 2 straight games without Derek Carr, and 4 straight dating back to 2 games when they had Derek Carr as well. Saints estimated practice report, Alvin Kamara, Derek Carr, DNPs as of Wednesday. Jawan Johnson also limited. They might get Chris Olave back, but he has not played since week 8. Their wide receiver core currently MVS, Cedric Wilson, and a guy named Kevin Austin Jr. So I'm not worried about the Saints or the Raiders putting up a lot of points here. The Raiders have hit this under in 4 straight games after losing Gardner Minshew. Those games were against way better offenses: Kansas City, Tampa Bay, Atlanta, Jacksonville. They also might be without starting left guard Jackson Powers-Johnson, who is also estimated as a LP the other day, and his backup Jordan Meredith, who was a DNP on Wednesday. So I'm going to go with the under here in the Spencer Rattler versus Aiden O'Connell game on Sunday afternoon.
Look, sometimes you just got to zoom out on the 2 quarterbacks that are playing and think, hey, does this mean that there's going to be points or no? I mean, last week you could have think that, not even like talking about the Saints game, which barely wasn't even a game. Really, it was something that was on TV where there were 2 NFL teams. I don't know if they were really playing football. They were doing something. But even the Jaguars-Raiders game, right? You looked at that and think, okay, like, this can be a gross shootout. Not even close. It was just 2 bad quarterbacks playing bad quarterback play. So I think we're going to get more of that here. Again, the only way I see this going over is when you get those wacky fumble 6, pick 6 here. And again, that is why it's called gambling at the end of the day. But I think the process here is right with your rationale behind this play. So I do like the under here as well.
Okay, let's go back to the Saturday slate where you like the Chargers and the Patriots to also potentially go over a total at 42.5 points. What do you like there? What are you seeing it for this game? Is going to kick off at 1 Eastern time.
Yeah, so this is the first game on the Saturday slate at 1 o'clock on Saturday. So I like the over in this game. And the reason is that the Patriots games, the only way I can enjoy watching them anymore is watching Drake May just be amazing at football, because everyone else on the team is terrible. There's a reason why Austin Hooper is now becoming like a tight end that's usable in fantasy, because he's like the second best receiver on the team besides Hunter Henry, who is tight end 1. And when you look at the Patriots, so they're 5-1 towards the over at home this year, 46 points per game. So you're seeing this total around 42.5, 43 points at most books. So I like the over here. And it's always dangerous, right, when you're betting on overs when it comes to the Chargers, right? Because they're a team that is just like notorious for killing game totals. They usually go shy towards the under. But, eventually, hey, you have to have them kind of break out of that under streak, right? I think they've only had 1 game this season on the road where they've actually gone over the total. But the Patriots, as I've indicated already, like, they're the gift that keeps on giving during the festive time of the year. They just give out overs because of how bad the defense is and how electric Drake May can be, making plays downfield, making plays with his legs. I see similarities between the way Drake May and Justin Herbert play, like both really good arms, can use their legs. So I think you're going to see some high-end quarterback play here in this matchup, and that's why I like the over. Again, 42.5, that's not a high bar to pass in any way. This is not Vegas looking at, hey, this game is going to be a shootout. By no means is it necessarily going to be a shootout, but can it get over 42.5 points, considering the average has been 46 points against all the teams the Patriots have played at home this year? I think it can. And I also do like the fact that J.K. Dobbins could be coming back for the Chargers here. The explosive element they need in their running game that can definitely take advantage of a very bad Patriots run defense. So especially with Dobbins coming back, that's not considered at all in these books or in these lines. I think he can rip off some explosive runs and help get this game over the total. So give me the over 42.5 Patriots and Chargers.
Okay, I'm going to stay in this game. I'm going to actually back the Chargers against the spread here, -4. They've been a top 5 team ATS this season at 10-5, and Jim Harbaugh's teams, whether it's last year at Michigan or here with the Chargers, they take care of business when they should. They've covered in 8 of 10 games when they've been favored this season. And while I'm like you, and I really do like Drake May, I wrote him into the fantasy championships in a couple leagues. I like what he's done for this team, but I don't know if you feel the same, but it feels kind of like a letdown spot after getting up last week in Buffalo. And I don't like the vibes in New England as a whole. Gerard Mayo, I don't want to, call for anyone's job or anything like that, but called his players soft earlier this year, threw their offensive linemen under the bus last week as well after that horrible late play with Ramondre Stevenson. I think this is a solid matchup for the Chargers, who, as you alluded to, they might be getting J.K. Dobbins back, and if they don't, they need to find a way to open up this passing game. The Patriots might be the cure to fix that as well. They've allowed an 8.8 ADOT. That's the 3rd highest clip and the 7th most air yards this season. They've also have the 7th fewest interceptions against quarterbacks, 7 this season. So I'm expecting Justin Herbert to tee off in this game, find Ladd McConkey, find Quentin Johnston downfield. So I'll go ahead and take the Chargers -4 against the Patriots.
If I wasn't a Patriots fan, I would agree with you on everything you said, because I think you're spot on. I don't like betting it because it's not fun for me. Like when I watch them, to only I'll take them with the points usually. Last week, but it's like +14, so that was fun. That was a fun sweat. And then they're up 14-0. You think, oh, can they win this game? Not quite. But I agree with you. I think the Chargers is probably the sharp play here. Again, goes back to, let's zoom out on the coaches, right? You got Harbaugh against Gerard Mayo, right? I don't think that we would be surprised that the coaching mismatch is significant. And again, like Drake May, but he's not quite at the level of Justin Herbert. So you see a lot of advantages. And the Patriots are playing at home. I can't remember the last time they won a home game. To be totally, I think it might have been against the Jets. I don't honestly remember. It's been a while. So I think you're pretty safe here back in the Bolts.
I'm glad you don't bet against your own team, because I'm the same way. Like occasionally I will back the Steelers or Penn State when I'm feeling good vibes around the team. But yesterday my cousin walks into the room. Hey, are you betting the Steelers today? I'm like, no. She's like, well, did you bet against them? And because my uncle, he always hedges his favorite team's the Eagles, so he'll hedge against himself every single week. I'm like, nah, I'm riding with the boys. You know what I mean? I'm going down swinging. So I would never. Have you ever hedged against your favorite team? Because I will never do that.
I don't think I've had a situation where I felt the need to do it. Like that's why I bet my way version of hedging is that's why I bet the over in games, because I root for Drake May. Like that's basically how I enjoy Patriots games, because I know the defense can't do anything. So it's they're gonna give up points. I know that's kind of me betting against them, and then I'm betting for them and rooting for them by betting the game total over. Which that means Drake May is balling out, doing things, and I root for turnovers and touchdowns. Again. Can never go wrong with rooting for touchdowns, man.
Yeah, that absolutely, and hopefully you guys can hold on to a high pick. Maybe some Travis Hunter coming to town next year for the Patriots.
I don't know if they can let any receiver of any type come anywhere near the Patriots. Oh, that's a rookie. Please keep them away. I don't want to ruin any player. I don't want to ruin their career.
Very fair, because even we've seen some struggles, some slow starts from Marvin Harrison Jr. down there in Arizona. You like the Cardinals potentially this week in an underdog spot against the Rams on Saturday night, 8:15 p.m. Eastern time. What are you thinking here for Arizona, Los Angeles, Erickson?
I just think that this one at +6.5 is too many points for a divisional matchup. Look, the Cardinals aren't some garbage team. Yes, have they been super disappointing, especially over the last month? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They had a cupcake schedule. Though they couldn't beat the Seahawks. They couldn't beat the Panthers. But they've also had games where they went down to the wire with the Minnesota Vikings. They also killed the Rams earlier this season. Now that was a while ago, but again, just learning, from looking at a lot of these spreads this year, these divisional matchups, right? They never go what it looks like on paper. They're always way more wacky, and things always. And when you're given the luxury of 6.5 points for a divisional matchup against the Rams playing at home, where they don't have home field advantage, so that's why it's really less about the Cardinals themselves, right? Because I've seen them; they're obviously disappointing, but that's why the number is what it is, because they've just been such a terrible team to want to back. And that being said, I mean, they've covered the spread 8 of their last 11 road games. When you look at the Rams, the team that's played on the road has usually covered their games. So 9 of the last 11 games for the Rams, the road team has actually covered the spread.
Oh,
The
wow.
Rams have been a really good team that I've been on when they've been on the road because they've gotten a lot of suppressed lines as a result. But now you're kind of getting the opposite here, where the Cardinals are getting no credit whatsoever, despite being 7-8, being a team that already beat the Rams this year. And yes, they're out of the playoffs, but it looks like James Conner's going to suit up in this game. They have Trey Benson. So, and I mean, the Rams, what were they doing against the Jets last week? Like, that was a game that we thought could be a shootout, and then they're stalling out. They're not moving the ball. Like, they've had enough bad games this year, the Rams, when they went on the road against the Saints. They could barely score points. They went on the road against the Jets, could barely score. You're like, wait, what's going on? So they're not exactly the most consistent team either. And given that it's a divisional game, I just think this is too many points. Do I think the Cardinals win? No, not necessarily. I think that the Rams find a way to squeak out a win. But I've seen them play teams way too close that they should have totally blown out to have confidence that they're going to win this game by a touchdown. So I like the Cardinals here, plus 6.5.
Yeah, the Rams are such a tough team to figure out because that inconsistency. 1 week they can barely scrape by the Jets, and then the week prior it's like they're lighting up the Bills. And the 1 week I bet the Bills to cover against the Rams, it doesn't happen. So yeah, definitely an interesting team. Hopefully they can figure some things out late down the stretch. They're obviously in that NFC West battle against the Seahawks for the division, probably their only way in the postseason. So excited to see kind of how that shakes up. I'm going to go to the Sunday slate for my third pick. I'm going with the Dolphins Browns under 40.5 points. And this is moving. I did see this just move after I placed this bet to 39.5. I think it's still at 40.5 at I think Bet365 if you're over there. Bet Rivers as well. And I just want a way to fade the Browns against the Dolphins because Kevin Stefanski, he's a buzzkill. Like, he's the guy you're not inviting to Christmas dinner because he's like, oh, let's just start Dorian Thompson-Robinson for the rest of the season. Ruin everyone's fantasy hopes, whether you had Jerry Jeudy or Jameis or Njoku, anyone you're rolling out there. But then I was like really thinking about it. And I was like, can I actually trust the Dolphins playing in the elements? It will be a little bit warmer in Ohio on Sunday, but there's a 79% chance of rain up along the shores of Lake Erie. So I don't trust the Dolphins. I don't trust the Browns. The Browns have averaged just 9 points in the past 3 weeks, and that was with Jameis Winston in 2 of those games. In the 5 games that Dorian Thompson-Robinson has started, the Browns are averaging 9.6 points per game. Njoku estimated DNP. Jerry Jeudy limited at practice this week as well. DTR also isn't at 100% with a cap, but is trending towards playing. The Dolphins also pretty banged up. They've played to the under in 2 straight good weather games against the 49ers in Houston. Much better offenses here. And estimated DNPs for them included left tackle Terrion Armstead and wide receiver Jalen Waddle. So I also like the Browns under 16.5 team total based on DTR's previous history, but give me the under 40.5 in a weird 4:05 Eastern time kickoff in Cleveland. I don't know if anyone's going to be at this game, Erickson. I have no idea if like if you're in Cleveland, if you're a Browns fan, are you going to this game on Sunday?
Oh man, this why does this game exist? Why is this on the? I mean, there's better ways. See, I think this is a perfect way to approach it, right? Nobody wants to watch this game necessarily, except Browns fans or Dolphins fans, maybe, But when you don't want to watch it and you want to fade both teams, you just take the under and walk away. Like, that's what you do. Like, that's why it was so fun. Like, on Christmas, I'm so busy doing all these things, entertaining aunts and uncles. Well, I got the unders going, so yeah, we're good to go. And then you look up, you check the scores and get back, and you're like, great, it was a great day. So yeah, the Dolphins, man, if they were just playing anywhere but Cleveland, like I think it'd be easy to take them against the spread, even though it's like laying almost a touchdown with them on the road. But they beat up on bad teams. We know that. But how to what extent do they beat up on the Browns, right? Especially if they're playing outdoors.
Right.
Even though the weather is not, or the temperature's not a big issue. Just we've seen this Dolphins. It's every single time they play someone that's a better team. So again, maybe I'm not as down on them against the spread as you are. I think again, if you're making me pick a team, I'm not taking the Browns.
Right. Yeah.
So in that way, I think that, I think maybe the Dolphins, maybe like you can do a little, again, depending on what the number is, where you're getting at the total, maybe you can alt the spread a little bit, bring it down a little bit. Miami, 3.5 or 4.5 or something like that, or by a field goal, and then get a better number on the total. So, because I think, I think Miami's going to win this game. Not too concerned about that.
Yeah, they need to flex it like True TV or something. So somewhere where no one's watching. Like, I think I'd rather watch my local news at 4 o'clock than this, honestly. And my local news coverage, no disrespect to the people out here in Lancaster County, but not the best. Not the best local news coverage out here. But keep swinging, guys. We appreciate you. Before we continue, I did want to remind everyone about the BettingPros Discord. If you're looking to up your game in sports betting, well, then join our exclusive Discord community at bettingpros.com/chat. Not only can you connect with some expert handicappers who provide free picks for the NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, soccer, player props, live betting, and more, but now you can also join our NFL podcast group. You can sync your picks for free and use our quick pick feature on the BettingPros sports betting app to win some free prizes. Make sure you're getting invested over there with the NFL podcast group and on our BP Discord community. Erickson, coming right back for you on the Sunday slate. We got the Carolina Panthers, who are now 8.5-point dogs against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I edit this show a lot, so I know you've had this back and forth relationship with the Panthers all year, like it's your high school girlfriend and you're going away to college in the spring. So what's happening here with the Panthers? Are you back on with them now?
We are reigniting the flame. Back with the Carolina Panthers.
Went home for Christmas and he's back with the old flame, baby.
Christmas break, baby. Let's go. I don't understand why it's this massive of a line. We see these teams play not that long ago, week 13. Game went to overtime. Tampa Bay ended up winning the game because of a Chuba Hubbard fumble. But that's a game that the Panthers could have won outright. We've seen the Panthers play 4 straight games go down to the wire. The last 7 weeks, they are 6-1 against the spread. Again, the 1 week that everybody was on them against Dallas, of course, they crumble. But this is just way too big of a line. Look, we talk about the Buccaneers a lot too on this show, talking about Baker Mayfield. Love him as on the road, love him as an underdog. He's not either of these in this scenario. Like, he is a heavy home favorite against a divisional opponent.
Yep.
This is way too big of a line. So this is definitely, I think, of all the bets we've talked about today, I think this is my favorite one. And we mentioned it on the early look ahead line between me and Joe. Joe kind of agreed with me that it seems like way too many points for the Buccaneers at home. I think their defense is terrible. Like, their defense is still so bad. We saw Bryce Young have success against them already this season. And who's playing looser, right? Who's playing more tight? The Buccaneers have to win to make the playoffs, right? Because they know the Falcons are breathing down their neck. But Carolina's like, dude, like, we're just out here trying to have fun, man. Like, play spoiler, play the Grinch role. So I really like, and David Canales also playing against his old team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I guess so. I really like the Panthers here in the spot. Again, we've already seen them play well above expectation the last 7 weeks. Last 6 games as an underdog, they've covered the Carolina Panthers, and they're getting 8.5 points. Divisional matchup again. Same reasons why I like the Cardinals, just a divisional matchup. 8.5 points. Again, if I make them 1 pick against the spread this week, I'm back at the Cardiac Cats.
Okay. And it's been interesting because since Bryce Young has returned and they've gone on this not winning streak, but semi-close losing streak, all their losses as of late have been 1-score games. They've been close. Bryce Young set a new career high in rushing yards last week as well. Like, starting to kind of see that Alabama Bryce Young. Do you think they stay with him going into 2025, or do you think maybe they draft like a day 2 guy like a Jackson Dart or a Curtis Rourke out of Indiana, something like that? Do you think Bryce Young is the future there in Carolina?
I mean, I think they definitely want him to be the future there, but I think that any, sharp organization is never going to say, like, we want, like, you should be a quarterback factory, right? You should always be looking at, like, because guys get hurt all the time, and you never know. We've seen Bryce Young, he seems like he's got his confidence back. We've also seen it when it's not there. And, like, what's going to happen if he goes through a cold spell of really disappointing games? Again, he's also an undersized quarterback, so what are the elements in terms of, like, his injury and health? So I don't think it's ever a bad idea to always continuing to invest into the quarterback position. Again, you want to get the best guy. And it's like, goes back to the 49ers, right? They traded up to get Trey Lance. They drafted Brock Purdy. And at the end of the day, they got their guy. And it's like, not the way that we planned on doing it, but it kind of worked out in the end. So I think it would be sharp for them to continue to look at the position. But I think obviously going into next year, Bryce Young is going to be the unequivocal starter in that lineup.
All right, for my 4th pick, I am going to go with the over in the Green Bay Packers-Minnesota Vikings game. This line currently set at 48.5 points. I got it at -108 at DraftKings. This, of course, going off at Sunday at 4:25 p.m. Eastern Time. I really think that the Green Bay offense, while they've been frustrating for fantasy outside of Jordan Love and Josh Jacobs, they've been playing great ball lately on that side of the ball. Matt LaFleur coaching them up, scored over 30 points in 5 straight games, averaging 357 yards of total offense in that span as well. And the Vikings have allowed just one more rushing yard than the Ravens for the fewest amount this season. So I do not think Josh Jacobs will be very effective in this game. If you want to take some unders on his rushing props, I wouldn't mind that either. But I think this will force the Packers to throw the ball a little more around the yard. Jordan Love's going to have a big game. They're going to have to save some clock. Meanwhile, the Vikings, they've also averaged 30.5 points over the past 5 games. Sam Darnold is absolutely cooking right now, averaging 278 yards, 2.6 touchdowns per game in that 5-game span. I expect him to air it out here. And with the Packers also being a top 6 defense against the run, I think Aaron Jones is probably clogged up a little bit. So there are 60 points scored in this game between these two teams back in week number 5. So give me the over in Minnesota in a controlled environment in the Dome. I'm going to, it's always sketchy with the divisional game. They've seen each other a couple times already, once this season and multiple times last season, but I'm sticking with it. 40.5 seems low. So give me the over.
I think that this is a good pick by you, Seth. Not to say the other picks are bad, but like this one in particular, especially because it's, hey, like, don't watch Miami Browns, watch Packers, Vikings. Like, this is where the action is going to be. And knowing my luck, I know that I'm going to get on the East Coast broadcast. I'm going to get Dolphins and Browns, and just wish that they would switch the game over to Packers and Minnesota Vikings. But I think the thing to point out too, in the first time that these teams played, it was a very weird game. I believe that the Vikings jumped out to like a massive lead.
Yes.
And then Jordan Love just started like hucking it in the second half, and they eventually kind of crawled their way back into the game. Now, it seemed like the Vikings were always going to win in the end, but Green Bay obviously came back. But I also believe that game Love was kind of still banged up because it was the beginning of the season. So he's dealing with that groin injury, that knee injury. So he's 100% healthy now. I mean, he's coming off basically essentially a bye week against the New Orleans Saints. So I think you're getting both teams at full capacity. You got Hawkinson. He wasn't in the first matchup.
Right.
So I think you're going to see points here. And this is a matchup I love for fantasy too, because we know the Vikings, like, they drive volume out of their opponents. And like, that's the biggest issue with these Packers. Like, no one gets enough targets. Well, targets are coming in week 17 for the Green Bay
I don't know
Packers.
where they're going still. I don't know who they're going to.
But if we can go from like 4 to like 7 for everybody, then we feel much better, especially if Christian Watson doesn't play. So God, I can only pray for those that are going to rely on Tavian Wicks to play him in the fantasy championships. I don't know if I'd have it in me, but he's probably going to have another big game. So I like the over here as well.
All right, let's round out your picks here with Sunday Night Football. Maybe one of the most intriguing games on the slate, like maybe not from a closest game that I think it's going to happen, but we have Michael Penix Jr. in his second start going up against the Commanders. How do you feel this one shakes out after Jaden Daniels has what was perhaps the best game of his career last week and perhaps sealed him the Rookie of the Year honors?
Yeah, I think that he's actually not getting enough credit for that performance last week.
It was awesome.
The line is only 4 points, and I think it has to do a lot with, Michael Penix like looked really good in his start. And I went into last week just keeping this in the back of my mind that if Michael Penix comes out, I need to keep this in mind. They play the Giants. They played the JV team of the New York Giants, and Penix, I mean, what? He didn't even have to do that much. They had 2 pick sixes, right? So yes, he looked good. But you have to keep in mind the opponent they were playing. A trend that I've looked at a lot this year has been rookie quarterbacks as favorites. They've performed really well against the spread this year. So Michael Penix was a favorite. I was backing him last week because he was like, hey, this guy should cover. And now I'm following that same trend, except on the other side of this matchup, because I'm looking at Jaden Daniels as the rookie quarterback who is favored in this matchup. So for me, it goes back to, I don't think 4 points here is enough. The Commanders are playing at home. They are riding high after this massive win over the Philadelphia Eagles. Atlanta, they beat the Giants. Great. But this team still has a lot of issues that go beyond the quarterback position. I still don't think their defense is very good, even though they've played well against some subpar competition. I mean, they played the Giants and the Raiders. Oh, yeah. Desmond Ridder, Drew Lock. Like, great job, guys. Now you're going to play the future Offensive Rookie of the Year in terms of Jaden Daniels. So the Commanders all year have been this team that have struggled to beat like the best teams, which is why last week, again, obviously, maybe a little asterisk because Jalen Hurts didn't play the game, but they still ended up winning that game against the Eagles. And yes, the Falcons have a winning record, but if there's, again, you know who has a winning record? The Texans, right? Just like one of these like kind of like fraudulent teams where it's like, like they're supposed to be good, but And the record says they're good, but are they really good? Are the Falcons good, Seth? I mean, if you ask Terrell Furman, again, he's not on the show either, but Terrell Furman would be very proud. This has to be one of his picks to fade the Falcons into oblivion, which is he usually does on a week-to-week basis. So I know that Terrell's going to like this pick, so I'm going to go with the Commanders, laying 4 at home against the Dirty Birds and Michael Penix. I just think that they're probably getting too much love for Penix's performance last week when I think it was more about the New York Giants than the Falcons being this team's ready to run away with the NFC South. I don't think that's going to be the case.
Yeah, a lot of problems for Atlanta. I'm not sure if Drake London is going to suit up in this one. We also have Kyle Pitts, who thinks he was a quarterback last week and just started laddering footballs forward.
He tried to be Travis Kelce, so this didn't work.
Forgot that you're only allowed to throw the ball backwards when you already catch it. But yeah, so I'm with you. I think the Falcons have a long way to go. I'm really hoping for Michael Penix's sake that they don't make the playoffs, just because I think Baker Mayfield has a better chance to make a run out of the South than the Falcons do. And yeah, Commanders have been hot. They've been frisky, kind of slowed down their rushing attack a little bit in the backfield. I want to see Brian Robinson Jr. get back to full health. I think he's still a little banged up, and hopefully Austin Eckler can return at some point. But yeah, I think it's a good spot for the Commanders on Sunday Night Football. I'll round us out with my final pick. And when in doubt, fade the Giants, who are 4-11 ATS this season, 2-7 ATS at home. They just lost to the Falcons, as Andrew told us, 34-7 in Penix's first start. Malik Neighbors, Tyrone Tracy, estimated DNPs on Wednesday. I think Neighbors is tracking towards playing, but Tracy's status seems very much in the air. Drew Lock also limited with a shoulder, but I'm kind of hoping he plays because he has 4 interceptions, 1 touchdowns this season. Anthony Richardson for the Colts, something to monitor. He was listed as an estimated DNP on Wednesday, but I don't really think this matters for betting this game because Joe Flacco and him are very, 1A, 1B, I think, in this type of situation. Colts are still in the hunt for a playoff spot, coming off a vintage Jonathan Taylor game where he had 218 yards, 3 touchdowns a week after I was eliminated from my fantasy playoffs in my big money league. So appreciate that, JT. But now they get a Giants defense. It's allowed the second most rushing yards this season, 4.8 yards per carry clip. Giddy up. I'm betting all the JT overs I can. I'm laddering him, and I expect JT to carry people to fantasy championships and the Colts to cash some tickets. I would wait on this one, though, because I think maybe if Richardson gets rolled out or he's questionable coming into Sunday, maybe you can grab a 6.5 so you can finish this one off if they win by a touchdown. So I'm waiting on this, but I do like the Colts at 7.5, hoping this line moves a little bit towards Sunday.
Yeah, the Colts are traditionally a team that you want to bet on when they're favored, right?
Yeah.
So they usually show up. It's when they're underdogs, when you kind of run into issues, especially when they're facing. It seems like every AFC South matchup with these teams is always like a pick-up. It's like, I don't really know who's at home. So the Colts here. I think that, even if Richardson suits up, the Giants, 2 of the things that they're worst at are against the run. We know that the Colts can run the ball effectively with Richardson, with Jonathan Taylor, and they're the number 1 worst defense against the deep ball. Look, Richardson might complete 5 passes, but he might get over 150 yards with those. His passing yards projection, I don't know what it is now, but I think it opened at 160 yards.
Oh my God.
It was comically low. And honestly, I think he gets the over in his passing yards because he might be, I think it's funny. He completed 6 passes, I think, last week. He still had over 100 passing yards. So I think he's going to complete some of these moon balls. It looks like Alec Pierce is going to be back as well. So I like the Colts here.
And we're going to go ahead and transition into my parlay of the week to round us out on the program. And I know this is an NFL show, but we all like football, right? So I'm going to be taking my favorite bet of the NFL this week, parlaying it with my favorite college football bowl game bet, Miami Dolphins and the Browns. I'm taking the under there, 40.5 points, minus 115. I also got Syracuse laying 16.5 points on Washington State in the Holiday Bowl that goes off on Saturday. Total odds of plus 269 at FanDuel. Fran Brown has done an exceptional job with this Syracuse team, and they are all up for the Holiday Bowl. Most of their starters will be playing, including quarterback Kyle McCord, who is 1st in the nation in passing attempts, 3rd in total yards, 5th in passing touchdowns. Wazoo, they had quarterback John Mateer, who's their entire offense. He's in the portal. Their leading rusher, Wayshawn Parker, in the portal. Their second leading wide receiver, Chris Hudson, in the portal. Their right tackle, 4 defensive starters, opting out of this game. So Washington State, they have nothing returning, no consistency. They also have their head coach and most of their staff is going to be gone for this one as well. So go ahead, give me Syracuse minus 16.5. I'm parlaying that with the Dolphins Browns under. This gives us combined odds plus 269. Nice. At FanDuel. So I'm going to go ahead and round us out there with a college football NFL parlay, Andrew. I don't know if I broke the rules of the show, but I'm doing it anyways.
Hey, if it hits, it doesn't matter. There are no rules to winning. So if it hits, Seth, we'll have you back on.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate that. Make sure you guys are tailing Andrew at bettingpros.com/Erickson. And maybe if this hits, maybe I can finally get my URL shortened.
Yes.
I am bettingpros.com/u/between_SethFF /. So a lot of slashes, a lot of underscores in there, but hopefully it'll be just at Seth soon. But make sure you guys are checking out Erickson, all the wonderful work he's doing at BP, at Fantasy Pros as well. That's going to do it for us today on the BP NFL show. Make sure you like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel and the podcast feed. Plus, download the Betting Pros app and sync your sportsbooks today. For Andrew Erickson, I'm Seth Woolcock. Thanks for watching. Take care, y'all.